What do you feel like your responsibility is as an older
For
athlete?
me, this hits really, really close to home. I didn't realize how much of like my life traumas were gonna creep up in my life later. And I ended up falling into substances, legal trouble. I did not think that I was ever gonna come back from that type of mistake.
They look up to you no matter what you're doing, people that they want to be when they get older.
And I saw just how bad of a role model I was when I was 23, 24, 25.
Hey everyone, Michelle here, cheerleading lifestyle coach. After 20 years in the industry and 5 retirements, I realized that athletes could really use some help navigating life after sport. So today on the Building University podcast, our BU podcast, we have a couple of special guests, and we're actually going to talk about what it's like to continue to cheer after school. I think a lot of people are under the impression that when school is over, that's it for you and you can't cheer anymore and you have to retire. And so we're going to talk a little bit about some other options if you do want to continue the sport. So Joe and Ashlie, thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
Thank you for having us.
Of course, love to have you. So first, just to give give an idea of like why this subject is so near and dear to my heart. I'm sure some of you know part of my story. I didn't start cheering until like middle school, but I cheered through school, just sideline stuff. Decided that I was going to go do the big girl job thing, do like the corporate 9 to 5, and I hated it. And so I decided to try out for the Portland Trail Blazers instead. And that gave me like that fire and the inspiration that I felt like I was missing. And so I really think that that allowed me to be able to continue to be healthier throughout my whole life. And so I cheered up till last Worlds, which was at 34 years old. And obviously both of you are a little bit older too, so we're going to talk about each of your stories, but I really think that it's a really cool opportunity and not a lot of people understand that it is an option. So that's what we'll talk a little bit more about today. So we're going to go one at a time. Ashlie, will you tell us a little bit about where you came from, how you kind of got here? If I remember correctly, you've been cheering since you were 5.
Yes. So I've been cheering since I was 5. I'm 33 at the moment. In 2026, I actually turned 34 at the end in December. So I'm right there with you. But yes, I've been cheering since I was 5. I started in minis out in North Carolina. And then I did it like in Girl Scouts because like that was the cool thing to do when you were a Girl Scout. And then I remember moving out to California, doing it in middle school, high school, college. Then my best friends were on All Star, and I'm like, oh, I think I did that when I was little. Is that a thing when you're an adult? And they're like, yeah, it's even cooler. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I like cheer. Let's do it. So then all my college friends did it at the same All Star place. And then, yeah, so then I did All Star for so long. And then I was also on staff because in this world of coolness of cheerleading that we have, you can have staff for UCA or NCA or USA. And so I did UCA also like right out of college and then, or like during college technically. And then this cool opportunity came of being a pro cheerleader. And I was like, I'm kind of old. I don't know if I could do it. And they were just like, no, like try out, like live your best life. And I'm like, sure, let's do it. And here we are as a 33-year-old pro athlete, as a cheerleader, an all-star cheerleader, and a varsity staffer. So here we are.
I love it. That's awesome. Joe, same thing. Tell us a little bit about where you got where you are.
Oh, so I started a little bit later. I didn't start until I started tumbling when I was about 15 years old. Um, because I was a wrestler and it was part of our like warm-ups and stuff. And then I found myself like staying after wrestling practice, just wanting to tumble more. And I went to a sideline football game and was watching the girls tumble and do what they could. And then I started matching them for skills and started doing back handsprings and back tucks and was like, I got swarmed during halftime. And they're like, you need to come try out for the cheer team. I was like, no way, like not gonna happen. Um, they eventually talked me into coming to a practice. I think my first practice, they were trying to get me to do toss hands and terrible grips, terrible form, doing everything that I could, but I just was hooked from that point forward. I had wrestled since I was 3, and then I didn't find a sport as challenging as wrestling on the performing, the emotional side, plus the physicality that came with it. And I just was hooked ever since. I ended up going on and cheering at Boise State. It wasn't enough of a challenge for me. And then got right into coaching tumbling for quite a few years. Opened a program when I was 23 years old in Meridian, Idaho, we had a 20,000 square foot facility and ran that all the way up until COVID, and kind of been doing all-star since. Um, but trying to build a program. So I think part of the reason that I'm still cheering is I don't think I've fulfilled my full wants with cheer, and I'm just still doing it. 38 years old now. 38 in this May, and just got done doing a comp yesterday. So
Oh,
pretty
wow.
fun.
I
Yeah.
give you credit. 38, that's crazy.
Yeah. Pushing myself a little bit.
Gives us hope though, right?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh wow, okay, I thought I was old at 33, but I'm not gonna shut my mouth over here.
But honestly, like we really still are in comparison, right? And so that's
Yeah.
the thing that we'll talk about next. I do want to mention something, Joe, that you said that really stood out to me is you felt like you hadn't fulfilled your like capacity yet, right? Basically. So
Yeah.
that's actually why after Portland Trailblazers, I ended up going back to school because same thing. I felt like I hadn't like explored my full potential as an athlete yet. And so that's why I went back to grad school and then ended up cheering 5 years between grad school and All-Star. And I'm so glad that I did. I was just talking to my husband about this because I feel like more confident as a coach, even though I'm not coaching skills of cheerleaders right now, but I feel more confident as a coach because I know that I like pushed myself further and did what I knew that I was capable of doing type of thing. So that's really cool to hear that you're kind of along the same lines. And we'll touch on this a little bit later too, but you're still considering potentially going back.
Yeah. Yep.
What are you thinking there?
Um, right now I have one self-sustaining business, another that is in progress of becoming there, and I haven't used any of my years of eligibility for college. And so considering trying out at GCU or potentially at Weber State. So yeah.
Please go to Weber State. Please go to Weber State.
I have quite a few friends on Weber, so
okay, go there, and then I will be like, yeah, that's you're 39, you're killing it. Win a bunch of things. I think you would kill it in Weber for sure, or Navarro.
Yeah.
Okay, so actually, because we're on this subject, I'm going to rearrange our schedule a little bit. Let's talk about going back to school, older adults. I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that there are more people in cheer that are older now. Do you guys see that at all?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think it's also because he's saying he's 38 or 38, correct? And he wants to go back to school to compete. It'd be the same thing. Like I only did 2 years of my eligibility. If I wanted to, I could go back to school just to go back to school to compete. I could pick any school I wanted to, do something, whatever in the school system, and then compete for 2 more years. And it's like people that wanted the opportunity that didn't get it when it wasn't that cool in our generation to do those types of skills in those schools. Like CBU is really popular, GCU, like Weber, like all the Navarro, like all those schools, like now they're like the talk of the town. So like we didn't get that when we were that age. So like we would go back just to do those things because we never got them. And we don't want all the youngins to have all the fun. That's not fair.
Yeah.
I love that. And you bring up a really good point too, because it is different than it was when we were at that age, right? Or like I feel like it's just so much bigger, and I don't even know, like the capacity is crazy. Yeah.
Like stunts like crazy. And I didn't have that today. I didn't have that cool thing of like, oh, you get a free education and you come here just for me to stunt here. Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So how do we feel generally about people going back? I mean, admittedly, I got a degree, right? I went for like my master's in business, but like I went back to school for cheer. We all know, right? Like that was the main reason I actually went back. So like, how do we feel about people doing that? Especially like you said, Ashlie, some people will just take like general courses and not even end up having a degree.
I mean, for me, I already graduated college. So if I ever did want to go back to do cheerleading, it would be just for something for fun, like either like a minor, or like just something for me to take classes and do for fun. But like, if you're doing it for fun or if you're doing it for an education, who am I to judge you for what you're doing for your life? You're doing something to one, I mean, you're getting smarter at the end of the day. You're still going to school. You're still having to get those A's to compete. You're doing something. So like at the end of the day, you can do it for degree, you can do it for fun. But like the main reason for all of us doing this in the first place is for cheerleading. So do whatever it takes to do whatever makes your life, and that small amount of happiness that you get from doing a sport that makes you happy. Like who am I to tell you can't go to school? And it's going to help the ecosystem and the community anyway, because you're just putting more money into the world by going to school.
Yeah. I think school is going back, whether you're going back for just the schooling or going back for cheer, which clearly I'm talking about going back to it for cheerleading, isn't college there to teach you life skills and opportunities and open up things for you that other avenues can't. Well, at this point, the cheer teams that are more available to me would be a college level team. And that's what's available. That's my opportunity. That's a pathway for me. So do what we do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so that brings us to a really good segue. Why don't we start talking about some options that people can do to continue cheer after they've already graduated, right? So I think some people think that they need to stop after high school because maybe they're not as good of an athlete as they think that they need to be in order to get into college, or they stop after college because they think that that's the only option, right? So both of you are obviously still in the system and still doing something related with cheer. What are some other things that people could do to continue to have cheer in their life in some capacity?
I really think it just depends on like what area of the world you're in. Like I feel like the East Coast is very cheer, like welcoming because that's like all they do and like they're very focused on it. On the West Coast, I feel like you could do a multitude of things and be still focused with cheer. But out of high school, you obviously can do college and college cheer with all-star cheer. And then once you're 18, you can now do pro. So you feel like you have so many different opportunities. You could be a pro cheerleader, you could be a college cheerleader, you can be an all-star cheerleader. Level 7 is 18 and above. So unless that coach wants to kick you off when you're like 50, you could literally do it at any time. And there's even gyms out there that have adult teams that are like not technically level 7 that are meant for adults. But you have so many opportunities. Like you can even do it for a club. I know there's like club cheerleading teams out there, like Pride and all that fun stuff. So it really just depends on like what avenue you want to go. But cheerleading never dies. You just have to find a route that's like for your age.
Yeah. So in my area, um, there was pretty much nothing in Meridian for anything 18 and older. You had to go to the college route until we decided to open our gym. When we decided to open our gym, we geared everything towards open gyms and just getting together and stunt and having a good time. And then it was like, hey, why don't we do a team of this? And then we slowly grew our program mostly around our adult team. It was like everybody was what would join our lower program, our lower levels to get into our adult program eventually. Back when that was going on, I think the open age range was like 14 and up, and then it was 16 and up, and it was all over the place. But now, yeah, some of the adult teams, at least in the varsity route, is 18 and older. So, but there's always options as far as like just getting into open gyms. There's pages and Facebook groups of people that just post when their open gyms are, and you can go and do it in that capacity so that you're not having to commit to a team. But if you want a team, it's pretty much all star, the recreational adult teams, or college.
Awesome. Yeah, that's actually part of the reason that I created the Cheer Network Facebook page in the first place, because I wanted
Yeah.
people to be like, hey, I'm going to be in Texas. Anyone want to stunt? And like, just, be able to connect with people. So hopefully,
Yeah.
fingers crossed, we'll get there. But yeah, I
Yeah.
love the open gym point. That's a really, really good one. And I think that there's such a good, like, cool vibe about open gym without like the pressure of a routine or having a partner or anything like that. And then obviously there is like pro cheer teams too outside of pro cheer. Now that's a little bit confusing, but yes.
Yeah.
So like NBA,
Those are fun.
NFL, stuff like that. Yes, they're all pros. So NBA and NFL, there's not a ton of them, but the one that I was on was a stunt team. I know that there are some stunt team specific ones like the Baltimore Ravens. I want to say the Tennessee Titans dance and stunt. So there are also those opportunities if that's something that somebody wants to seek as well. Let's talk next about cheer adjacent careers and stuff like that. So like let's say that they're done being a actual cheerleader, maybe they're broken or they're just ready to move on, but they still want to have it in their life, right? So Joe, we obviously know that you started a gym and everything like that. What are some other options or career things that people can do to stay in cheer without cheering?
Um, uh, Camps and clinics is huge and starting to grow. There's other programs as far as like Future Flyer that is like, and stunning as a habit where traveling camps and clinics where you get to just go and participate more part time. And so those are a couple that I know of.
Absolutely. Ashlie, can you think of any other ones?
Yeah, so I think varsity is really cool at that. Like you can do staff on like any of their programs. They have UCA, UDA, USA, NCA, like all that. And like the aspect of being a staffer is pretty much you being a coach for other kids and people out there. And you don't have to be the demo who has to do the dance. You don't have to be the demo that has to do the stunt. You could be the demo that does all the talking. So like you don't have to put your body on the line and hurt yourself and like continue doing things if you're not at that point anymore, but you can still do cheerleading in your life. Yes, it's like majority like a summer thing, but there's so many opportunities during the year. Like you can become a judge, you can work competitions. So like if you want to be like your life, but like not something that you're like physically doing because it's not something that your body can do anymore, you can do that. Just like Joe, you could be a coach, you can open your own gym, you can do privates, you can literally go like have fun and like teach people. You could do podcasts, you can do YouTube videos, you can do TikTok. So there's so many ways in the world to like do something that you love without physically doing it. You just have to find that avenue. And I feel like the world is so open to like helping people, especially after COVID. Like there's so many ways that you can do it. You just have to figure out which way. And varsity is really good at that. And any cheer staff program out there, there's WCC, there's like Spirit, there's like so many. So it just depends on which one you want.
Love that. Very cool. And do you guys personally know anyone who does cheer related jobs? So a couple that I've run into recently since I started networking a little bit more is like cheer music, being an announcer. Somebody I know actually also represents NIL, the name, image, likeness tag. So do you guys know any other in that type of avenues?
Yeah, my gym that I go to OC All Stars. We have a coach and like part owner. His name is Nelson. He runs Cheer Sync, which is like an app to like help with cheer related things, like with tryouts, and it's this really cool like program that he created that he's a part of. And then you obviously have like I'm an announcer at competitions when they need me, and then you also have like I have my judging friends that are out there who can never tell me what they want things to be like because they don't want to. But there's like so many things out there that you could be like even like working at the facilities that have the cheer competitions, even if you don't want to just be related to cheer, but you want to be in front of it, like you can work those venues because those venues will always have that cheer competition. So there's so many ways to go about it. You just have to find the right people.
Cool. I love that. Joe, any other ones to add in?
I think most of the people that I know are still involved. I haven't even, part of the reason I think I'm still involved is because I'm mostly connected to athletes and mostly still connected. I haven't really ventured off that path yet. And I think out of fear. So I'm learning a lot during this.
Ooh, okay. Can we
Yeah.
play with that a little bit? Are you willing to share what you mean
Sure.
by fear?
Yeah, my body, I don't want it to stop. Like I I've been an athlete so much for so long that it's part of my identity. And I feel like if I'm not an athlete and I'm not competing and if I'm not pushing that next skill, like I'm gonna feel a little bit lost. And I know that's not 100% healthy, but I've been an athlete since I was 3 years old and was forced on a wrestling mat. So every time I get another injury or every time I'm like, oh, yep, this one that's taking me out forever, I'm like, what am I gonna do now? So I guess I just almost in denial, not wanting to be done. So
I feel that. I think for me, a big piece of it too was like not wanting to live the status quo. You know what I mean? Like get married at 22, have a couple kids, white picket fence. Like I was like, no, there's so many more options. There's so many other things that I could do. So I don't know if it was like rebellion in play a little bit there. But yeah,
yeah,
same basic idea where I was like, no, like I have so much more that I want to do, and this is who I am, and this is how I like to be. So I hear you. Absolutely. Ashlie,
I
anything
guess,
to add there?
I guess,
Oh, please.
No.
I guess the next rewarding spot for myself has been like, as far as like being part of the cheer industry or close to it, is becoming a cheer dad. So I have four boys, ages 18, 15, 9, and 5.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
6 now. He just turned 6. And they're all cheerleaders. And so, yeah.
Play.
So last year I got to cheer alongside my 18-year-old on an open team, which was amazing. Side by side,
That would have
standing
been
tucks, round off handfuls. So it was fun. Yeah. And then now my 9-year-old, he just got his full. So getting to watch him progress in the sport and kind of take the sideline and just watch them compete, I think I would be okay with that.
That's awesome. Oh, that's so cute.
That guy he competed with his 18-year-old must have been the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, it was a blast.
I would be like, that's my dad, don't look at him. But I would be like, that's my son. That's my son right there. Don't look at him. He's over there. He's over there.
So
He
what
said
about
it's
you,
a big
Ashlie?
shadow to try to step out of. So
Oh, okay. How's that relationship? How's that dynamic?
me and his relationship is good. I mean, it's been rocky at some points, just like any other father and son. But uh, yeah, he told me last weekend. He's like, the only reason I did cheer was so that I could be close to my dad, and that kind of gave me a little perspective. I was like, man, I hope he doesn't feel like I chose cheer over him because he grew up his entire life in the back room of a gym and out on the floor tumbling, and so like that was my career though. But him opening up and sharing that with me, he's like, now that he's done being an athlete, he's like, let's go do some other stuff. So
Let's go wrestle. Let's go over there.
yeah, yeah, yep,
So you said he's done. He's not cheering anymore?
yep. He said his body just broken and he's ready to move on, and which I'm proud of him. He did well with it, and yep.
Okay. And how is he processing that transition?
I think he loves it. He's focused on whatever girlfriend he has now and working. He has a
Yeah.
regular job and regular life, and he's okay with it. He used to pops into open gyms every now and then and has fun with it. And but it's a sideline for him where or like a side hobby for him where it was like passion for me. So a little different.
Absolutely. Very cool. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Okay. Ashlie, what do you think keeps you around so long?
Honestly, some people have asked me that question a lot lately, and it's funny when you think about what you used to say to compared to what you say when you're older. I think when I was younger, I was chasing like that win or like that ring or like that trophy or like that feeling of like, oh, the missed practices or the missed Thanksgivings or the missed like things like were worth it because I like got this ring or I got this like trophy. And I got those things. And like my coach has this really great way of like putting into perspective, like that moment you feel for like that second, like you feel that infinite moment for that second. And then like, it doesn't go away, but like life moves on. And so now when people say, why do you do cheerleading for so long? I think it's really because of the people that are in my life and the memories and the humans that I like experience this with. Like my coach is like my best friend. She's 3 years older than me and we've known each other since I was 20. And what makes me sad is like if I think about leaving OC, it's not because I'm like, oh, I'm like injured or tired or because I don't want to drive there anymore. It's like, oh, I won't see like Mandy like 3 times a week. Like that's crazy. And it's not like we can't see each other outside of cheerleading. Like it would be so easy to be like, oh, let's hang out outside of cheerleading. But the reason why I stay now is because it's like more of a personality trait than a hobby at this point. It's something that makes me who I am and like part of my identity, which is what I think Joe was saying, like the identity crisis of it sometimes is like in the back of my brain because it's like everyone on the planet Earth that knows me knows that Ashlie is associated with cheer. So like if I stopped it, would it become like, did something happen? Like obviously I got hurt and in like past March and like I'm okay now, but like will it change just because I'm not doing it? I'm going to be a part of it in some perspective, obviously, and I would never leave it, but like physically getting off the mat, like my brain's like, what if people think you didn't do enough? But like I know I'm enough and I know I did all the things I needed to. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying like it's just such a big, deep love for me that like if I can physically do it, if I can crawl around and still do it, like I'll do it until I can. And I think it's just such a huge love and like my own thing and my own space and my own love that I can separate from the rest of the world that like it's just brings me so much happiness. So it's something that I do because I genuinely love it and I just want it to be around forever. And unfortunately I'm not a man, so I don't have that much of a lifelong life of being able to do cheerleading. But I will try my best. But not everyone's like Joe over here, 38, and just like tossing all around,
Wait,
okay?
wait. Hold on. You cheer at OC, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Does Hassani still cheer?
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure Hassani's a few years older than me. He's still
Yeah, but
going.
that's what I'm trying to say. Women and men are very different in capacity of cheerleading and how long their bodies can physically do it. I have to have a kid eventually and live that life of also, and I
Yeah.
can't doing it when I'm pregnant. And like you could just like live your best life and just go do cheerleading whenever you want. Toss a girl, toss
True.
a girl. Me, I'm like, okay, I think I'm dying a little bit and my back is killing me. So like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
True. I do have actually the house that I'm at right now is a friend that a lifelong friend that we started cheer. I coached her when she was like 7, 8, 9 years old. I was like 15, 16. Grew up in the same gym, right? Well, now she's got her 3 year old. She's 30, and we're on a team together this year. So, and
Wait,
then my wife,
was pregnant.
yeah, true. She said the hardest thing ever in her entire life was coming back from that, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
beyond blessed that I didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, my wife says the same thing.
Like, okay, now we're going to go throw some people. Like,
Yeah,
crazy. I mean, I'm going to do it probably.
yeah,
Here we are, like 7 months later after an ACL injury. But, I don't know
yeah,
about the whole like being pregnant for 9 months and giving birth and then coming back. That's like a whole season and a half, technically.
yeah,
I got to plan the being pregnant. I got to find a boyfriend first, but I got to plan on being pregnant, correct timing frame of the season. And I think it'll be okay.
yeah. We plan our kids around our comp season and when she wants to be pregnant, like, so we might be trying again in March, but that's so that she can deliver the baby before peak traveling season for competition season.
He knows. He said nothing happens in January, February, March, or April.
Listen to us. That's crazy.
Like, you don't have any of those babies. You want spring babies? Nope.
Yeah.
Summer, fall, or winter.
Yeah.
I love that. So that does bring up a really good point. I think that's one thing that's a little bit tricky for older athletes is like trying to figure out how to still live an adult life, an adult, while trying to do this, right? It's a lot to balance. So like I actually changed jobs. Like I said, I did desk jobs and stuff and hated that. I actually changed jobs so that I had a more flexible schedule so that I could go to practices and games and like stuff like that. You know what I mean? And like,
Yeah.
and that's one thing that I think people can balance both, but it's hard.
Yeah.
I put off, having kids and we just got our first pet in 20 years. Like, like I feel like I almost just extended my childhood almost, and now I'm starting to adults. I don't know. So what do you guys think about that in general?
Yeah, I think the more you want to do cheerleading, the more you have to like change your life around. And it is funny to non-cheerleader people because they get very confused by it. They're like, you're moving your work around so you can go to practice. And I'm like, yeah, because that's what I got to do, like to compete and like live my life. And so it's funny because like my friends are like, the amount of time and effort you put into cheerleading, if you put in anything else, you would be like above and beyond. I'm like, yeah, but I'm doing above and beyond in cheerleading. You just don't understand it because you don't understand what cheerleading is. So you go there, you do your thing. But it is funny to tell, like, when I do like have like work and like stuff and I tell them, oh, I have to miss it for like a cheer competition or for cheerleading. They're like, oh, like for family and friends. I'm like, no, for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, for when me. They assume that you're the coach and you're like, nope, I'm an athlete.
Living my best life.
Oh, you guys. Oh, you tell the truth on that. Okay, my bad. I guess I didn't get that memo.
I 100% lie. Oh, we're telling the truth here? Oh, no, I lie. I say I have a family emergency. I have a family get together.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. My clients have been so good about it because I've been personal training forever and they will rearrange their schedules around my competitions and practice, all that stuff. Like no questions asked. I was so fortunate to end up in that field. Yeah. But I mean, I had to make it happen, I guess is the point, right?
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. So other than your wife's pregnancies, Joe, have you had to rearrange your life around cheer?
I've rearranged every part of my life for cheerleading. I remember at being 22 years old and applying for jobs and being like, here's my cheer schedule. If you can't work around it, I can't work here. And just confidently knowing that, like, hey, if you're not going to work around my cheer schedule, I'm not going to work for you. That developed into adulthood where I can only be self-employed, I guess. So I own a painting company now where if I'm only painting these during these times and I'm gonna walk off the job and be done at that time because I'm the owner and I'll keep my crews going. But yeah, most of my life I've rearranged around to fit my cheerleading schedule. So, and now like, it's like, oh, I run and own a gym. So people look at you different when you say that, you're owning and operating the gym versus just coaching or just being an athlete. Cause I remember being just the athlete and then being like, that's so lame. Like, why, like, grow up already. And I'm going to be like, I don't want to grow up. I don't want to be old. And if this is what old looks like, I'm good. I'll stay fit and stay going.
Yeah.
So,
Let's talk about a little bit about that external perception, right? So generally speaking, I would not try to tell people how old I was. I wanted to see if they thought that I fit in, you know? I don't know. That made me feel younger
yeah,
when they guessed that I was like 10 years younger than I was. So like
yeah.
out external perception of continuing to be an athlete, maybe pushing off your life, maybe rearranging your life around something that we understand is like so important to us, but like you said, actually, other people don't get it, right?
Yeah, so like I mean, think about it like as a woman, right? When you're 33 years old, like everyone is either looking at you wondering like why aren't you married? Why don't you have kids? Why don't you have a family? Why aren't you in a career? Like why aren't you doing all these things? And like yes, I do have to admit that cheerleading did cause a lot of that because it didn't save time for me to go find a boyfriend and like do all that stuff or to find like that relationship to then get married and have a kid. And like obviously like he is 38 and he has 4 kids. One is 18 years old. So like it's not that I think I'm behind or like on a path of like that's not the same as everyone else. I just know that at the end of the day, I have my own path and I'm just later than other people. But because I strived and did things that I wanted to do first and focused on myself and did the cheer aspect of my life before I did like the family and the kids aspect. And I know that has to come eventually because unfortunately, as a woman, we do have a ticking time bomb of a clock. But at the end of the day, I'm not worried. I just know that it's a different time frame for me, and I didn't push anything aside. I just rearranged my focus of what I wanted in that moment.
And that brings up a really good point too. Tell me if you relate to this. It We didn't want kids for a really long time. And I think that because I was wanting to pursue cheer, because I wanted to pursue my career and everything like that took precedence, that took priority. And so it didn't feel like I was missing out because I didn't want that at that time. Does that relate to what you were saying?
Yeah, because at that, I mean, even now, sometimes when I think about it, I'm like, that would be crazy, like to think about having like a kid and a family and like all these things that I have to worry about when I have to worry about myself and what I'm doing today, tomorrow, and the next day. And like, I understand that no one is prepared for motherhood, childhood, whatever. But at that time frame, like I didn't want that. At that time frame, like that wasn't my focus, and this was my focus. And now, like it is shifting. Where like this is my focus, but also that has to be my focus. It's not something that's like, oh, like I can think about it. Like no, like it has to be my focus. It has to be something that I push above it because it is something that I do want. So like I can't just magically wait for it to happen. Like I have to physically go do it. So I just have to make both of them a priority, but make the other one a little bit of a higher one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That kind of shift almost. What about you, Joe?
I can't relate on the perspective of looking at it from the woman's perspective clearly, but in the aspect of like the outside pressures, and I have worked with countless of athletes that are, just 18 years old, 19 years old, 20 years old, where they have significant others that are telling them, just grow up. It's time to get out of the sport. Like you're not in high school anymore. It's time to start living your life, working towards a career. And like, it breaks my heart. I'm like, we get one life to live to pursue our passions. And if that passion for these individuals is cheerleading with a team and a group, because for at least for me, my gym was my safe place. That's, I had it not, I had a tough childhood and it created rocky environments for myself throughout my path and trauma. But my gym was my safe place. And I see these other athletes being pressured by bosses at fast food jobs or at Target telling them, no, we're not going to work around your cheer schedule. You have to do it. And they come to me like, I'm going to end up getting kicked off the team or lose my spot flying. And they have all these outside pressures telling them that they need to grow up and stop doing cheerleading. And I feel like, at least for some of them, I've been a light being like, hey, you can do cheer forever. I'm on the extreme side where I made cheer my life. I made it my career, my passion, my everything, which that's a whole another topic of discussion. Like, but where there are people that just do this part time that, they have their regular day jobs. I brought up Hassani earlier. He's a teacher and yet he still goes and he's still on a team. Super inspirational, super influential guy. And he lives a life outside of cheer and then just has cheer on part time. So there's a whole spectrum of what you can do. You don't have to stop at 18 years old. You don't have to stop at 22 or I'm pretty sure there's somebody out there that's like 57 that's still on a world's team.
I think
She was
Oh
so.
my
like his
gosh.
granddaughter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just saw a video too of this lady. She's got to be in her 60s, question mark, stunting with
Hand
a
in hands.
guy. Yes. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it was so beautiful. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
so cool. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that transition again, then we'll bring that back. When do you feel like it is the right time to leave?
I don't think there is like a certain time for someone to leave cheerleading. I think it's whenever you feel that you've either fulfilled something that was inside of you that you wanted, that made you do cheerleading, or
Mhm.
that you're okay with taking a step back and letting the other generation or the other person be the people that are now on the floor or the ones that are teaching. And I don't really think cheerleaders in general, I think, never actually leave the cheer world. I've never met someone who was a cheerleader or is a cheerleader that completely left it, is now not a part of it in any single form. I think there's ways that people are still connected, whether it be their children, their best friend, like their job, like something. And I really think that's such a cool part about cheerleading, is that we're such a big community and we like hold on to it so deeply that I don't ever feel like we ever really leave it. We just like let it go to the next person and like hope for the best for them, and always are there like cheering them on.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, there's not really a right formula. It's when it feels best for you and when that path. I've had multiple times where I thought my cheer career was going to be done or my pathway was going to be done, and it didn't stop and didn't feel right, and came back and kept pursuing. But I have seen people retire and then they're still at open gyms or still come in and do a private lesson here or there with somebody or coach in some aspect or bring their kids. And I have multiple athletes on my team now that I coach their parents when their parents were, 15, 16, and they're now their mid 20s bringing their kids in. So they're still a part of it in one way, shape, or form. My tiny team coach right now, her daughter's a tiny and she cheered 18 years. And so I don't think there is a right time to leave. Do it when it feels right in your heart.
Absolutely. I remember I always used to say that I would retire whatever if I got bored or broken. And then I broke
Huh.
my elbow and still came back that season. So, whatever. And I never really got bored, you know what I mean? Except this last like 3 years, I think was the tipping point for me where it started to be okay. Because I admittedly like definitely got a lot further in my athletic career than I thought I was originally going to, but not to the extent that I wanted, if that makes sense. And so when I graduated college, my last year was a little crazy. I ended up doing 2 years on our level 4 open team on the All-Star. And it wasn't exactly what I wanted, right? I wanted to do something a little bit harder, but it allowed me the space to still like be an athlete, still work hard, still learn, and not have as much pressure on myself, not make cheer all of everything that I was anymore. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
that
Yep.
was a really nice transition period for me, I think, to be able to kind of release that a little bit and reprioritize, like we were talking about earlier. So let's talk
Yep.
about that. So in the transition itself, I know both of you are actives who probably have just touched on this bit, like you said, injuries and stuff like that, where you're like, oh, do I have to stop? Is now the time? What do you think makes it so hard? We talked about the identity piece, but what do you think makes it so hard to transition? And what do you think that people might need if they're in that space, especially if they get like injured or something like that and they can't do anything about it?
Joe, you can go.
Oh man, that's a tough question. I haven't ever imagined myself. Every time I imagine myself transitioning away from it, I fight and I stop and I'm like, no, I'm not ready yet. So I don't. I'm in denial on it. So I don't know if I'm much help on that aspect. I I would say the best exit plan would probably be doing the open gyms and just slowly pulling yourself out. I don't think anybody should ever let fitness go entirely. So as long as you have more recently, I've increased the amount of weightlifting workouts I'm doing versus how many times a week I'm in the actual cheer gym. So I know that that's kind of a little bit of a transition out for myself. And yeah, if I decide to quit, I'll just go in a different fitness direction. Yeah.
I kind of agree on that. I think that like I don't know how to explain it. Like transitioning out of anything is going to be hard, like a job, like the world, like a relationship. And I think cheerleading is like a relationship to a lot of people. So I feel like transitioning out of it would be like something that has to be like mutual for both of them and the other like person or like the cheerleading itself. And I think that's what makes it so hard for people to like transition out of it, because in your brain you're like, I can still do all these things even though your body may not be able to. But I really think that cheerleading in general like is hard because like they want you to be able to transition and like do all these things, but like you're still in this mental state of like you just like denial of just like I don't want to leave, like I don't have to leave, I can stay out however long I want. So I think the tools that would just be like to reach out to people around you and see if like there's any capacity to be around it still without you like having to physically leave it fully. And if it is something that you want to just transition out of fully, like his 18-year-old son that wants to go do something else, like then find a different hobby or sport or something that is your focus so that you're not missing a piece of you because you stopped doing something that was so huge and so monumental in your life. It just needs to be changed to something else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Did you have
Our
something else?
sport is aging. Yeah, our sport is aging quite a bit. Like, um, the new varsity pro teams that just popped up is another avenue of proof that the sport is aging. There more open teams, more open recreational teams are popping up, and I think that's proof that like there's a lot more people in our situation that are wanting to continue and keep going. And if you look at like other sports, there's 50-year-olds still playing, pickup basketball, that are playing racquetball, that are doing other sports. Why should cheer be any different just because it's physicality? I don't think so. I think there's other aspects and ways to that our sport can keep providing that love for all ages.
And I do think that the physicality piece is a really important point too, because I think a lot of people think, especially tumbling, right? If I don't have the tumbling longevity anymore, my body's hurting, all this stuff, that I can't continue to do cheer. But realistically speaking, open gyms and stuff, you're probably going to stun most of the time, I would imagine, or go on the tumble track or whatever, right? Like do whatever version of that is a little bit easier on your body. And that you can continue to do for a really long time. If we think like acro,
Yeah.
there's a ton of
Yeah.
people in their 40s, 50s, whatever, that are doing acro because it's just a little
Yeah.
bit like gentler on your body. So there's versions, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Yeah. So just as both of you know as well, whenever you're ready, I actually just created a transition portal. I don't know if you saw that, but basically the idea behind why I created it was, like I said, I've had like 5 retirements where I thought I was done with cheer. And every time I just like soul crushing, you know what I mean? Like it just feels like you're losing a piece of yourself and it's so hard to go through. And I could, I've seen so many of my friends go through this too. And so that's why I created it. It's basically like a journal prompt to be able to transition like your mindset around
Oh,
like how
okay.
you're going to go from one piece to the next and like what
That's
that
awesome.
next journey is going to look like, because I think it's difficult to process like mentally, you know what I mean?
I agree.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the mental state of it, Ashley, you mentioned moving on to something else, like finding a different hobby. Joe, you mentioned being active. We talked about some careers that you can do and everything too. I think one thing that's important for us to talk about as well is potentially how to step back and feel less obligation, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
like the last couple of years, I would still go to open gym, like every open gym that they had, right? And then I was like, oh, I don't have to, right? Like
Yeah.
before, when I was an athlete, when I was pushing my skills and whatever, like I felt like I needed to. And then when I was letting go of it and releasing it and feeling okay with that, I actually intentionally tried not to go sometimes so that I could
Mhm.
like take a little bit of that power back, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So, Joe, you mentioned like stepping back out from some of the cheer stuff that you're doing and kind of doing a little bit more workouts. Have you guys noticed yourself putting any other like boundaries up or like trying to remove any of that obligation?
Yep. For myself, for sure. Like I've been skipping open gyms where I was allowing myself to work out harder on days of the week, that and where I would normally go into the gym and do a light workout, knowing that I had open gym. Now I'll be like, I'm gonna skip this open gym. I put my body through the ringer at the weightlifting gym, so I don't need to. And then if I do go to open gym, Uh, I've been known to throw anybody and everybody whenever I'm at an open gym, and now I'm a little bit more like, hey, the skills that you're asking me to throw you in, you're not quite ready for, and I don't need to be hurting myself trying to get you in the air. So I find myself putting more of those restrictions on myself and allowing that to happen, and I've been okay with it. Whereas in the past, I was like, nope, like I'm hitting this stunt. I don't care if you're a 200-pound male. I'm gonna throw you in a full up right now. So,
Play.
yeah.
For me, I think that more boundaries on like the side of like life, I guess you can say. Like I used to just be like, oh, like if I have to miss something, I have to miss something, but it's more like prioritizing like which I'm missing. So like if it's like a family event or something like that's really big, like I have to remind myself that it's just cheerleading, that I need to like spend time with the family, especially the older I get, the older the people around me get, and the less chances I have to be around them. So it's me just making sure that I prioritize that. And then again, like with the cheerleading, being an older female, like there's certain things that I'm like, okay, like I can totally do that. And there's certain things where I'm like, I feel comfortable doing it with specific people, but not with everybody. And like, I may not be your person to like, I am the strongest person, but may not be your person to teach everybody. Like I may not be that person that's like, okay, I can get hit 15 times and like still teach. Like I will be the one that will teach from a far distance. And like that 18 and 19-year-old can get hit 15 times while they teach.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about
Passing the
that
torch.
piece. Yes.
Yeah.
Is there any other ways that you find yourself as you're getting older, as an older athlete, where you're trying to preserve yourself, like warm ups, cool downs? Like, is there any other things that you're doing to stay physically in the game?
It's more just being careful of what you're doing. Like I think that's what is crazy about age is like when you're young, that's why it's so easy to do things when you're young. You have no fear. That's why you see that kid doing a backflip off of a building. You have that kid like jumping into the ocean with weights around his ankles. Like you have that kid jumping off of a pier because we don't have that fear factor in our brain. We are living for the day. We're living for the moment. We're living for the fun and the thrill of life, which is great and which I wish everyone did all the time at any age. But once you get to an older aspect of life, especially if you have a family, like you're living not just for yourself, but for the people around you. You're living for your parents, your wife, your kids, your husband. And you have that fear factor like, oh, like if I'm not here, what's going to happen to the people around me? Or like, I don't want to get hurt because then I'm out of work. I don't want to get hurt because then I can't drive the car. I don't want to get hurt because I can't do so many things, ABDC, like all these things, ABCDE, but that's the alphabet. But at the end of the day, it's hard because we want to live a life of like just living in the moment and having fun and doing all the things all the time and being the best. But that's why there's different ages of life and why you have the different chapters of life because everyone lives that life at a certain point. And I'm just more reserved in things that I do now because I don't want to see myself get hurt and be out of commission. So it's more just like I know my limit and I know where I can and cannot do things. And so I just make sure that people around me also know my limit. And if they're not okay with that, then they can like either like put me somewhere else or like I don't have to be there. But everyone's pretty okay with my boundaries at the moment of me living my 33-year-old life as a back spot.
Love it. Joe, what about you? How do you stay healthy?
Um, so way for as far as like warm ups and workouts go, I find myself doing a lot more thorough of a warm up every day. My eating schedule and versus my workouts, it's all planned, it's all time now. Whereas before I used to just I would stunt for hours and like I would start getting shaky and I'd be like, what's going on? Oh well, I don't have any carbohydrates in my bloodstream anymore. So my body's giving out. Well, I'd still just push through. Well, now I like start to feel that, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go have a Gatorade and a banana mid workout and take care of myself. And I'm like, man, I wonder what would have happened had I known this information at 20, right? And been able. But I think it's great that I'm doing it now because I have so many athletes under my wing that I'm now teaching that to. Like, I'm telling all of them, like, hey, if you don't know what to eat or when to eat, ask ChatGPT. Like, let it know what type of workout you have coming up and when, and it will tell you, like, hey, at 110 pounds, you need about 25 carbs in your bloodstream before you go and go do that workout or whatever it is. So longer warm-ups for sure, more thorough stretching, and then my diet nutrition is like aimed around my workouts. So
Absolutely. And that's probably part of the reason that you're
mhm.
still in the game, right? Is because you're also doing those things.
Yeah. And as far as like the injury and like every time I get an injury, like last week we had 2 3.5 hour practices on Saturday and then a 4 hour practice on Sunday because we have people that drive in from out of town, so we can only have weekend practices, which is a challenge all on its own. But I ended up straining a thigh and strained my calf, tumbling. And I was like, well, now I put myself through heck all week long because now I have to go to work with, a strained calf, climbing up and down ladders to paint houses.
Oh,
So, but what I've noticed is like that was last weekend that this happened. And because my diet and nutrition are in line with each other, because I'm taking the right vitamins for my body and my supplements and proper rest time every single night, that strain went away way earlier. And I was like, I wonder how many times I put myself through the ringer when I didn't need to just without that knowledge. So,
Mhm. So let's talk a little bit about what you would have done, let's say 10 plus years ago as an athlete versus now.
oh
Because,
no.
like again, being on the All-Star 4, we did All-Star World, so it was 14 and up, I think. So I
Yeah.
had athletes that were more than half of my age or less than half of my age, right? And
Yeah.
they're all just doing no warm-up and full tumbling passes. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
you're crazy. That's not happening.
Yes.
So what do you think that you've learned, and how do you think that would have affected you 10 years ago, like you said, if you already knew that?
I mean, back in the day, I feel like it was kind of like the way that our generation was kind of like raised. Like when you like got scraped or got hurt, it's like rub some dirt in it and get up and walk away. Like stand up, like you're fine, like you did nothing. So like our generation, like the three of us, like lived that way because we're like we would get hurt. I would just immediately stand up, be like, I'm fine. Like not even
Mhm.
just like my parents told me that I was fine, but like my coach would be like, if you're not fine, we can find someone else. Or like if you're not fine, so and so can do it for you. So you
You're
had
like,
the fear of your
nope.
kid mad at you because you got hurt and you don't want them to think you're a baby. Then you have the fear of your coach replacing you. Then you have the fear of like your other friends and athletes making fun of you. So like you had all these things about you being like, you cannot be hurt. You were going to stand up and you're going to live that life. And so like you never really told anybody that you were hurt. You were just like, I'm fine. And then you'd walk away. Now the most serious injuries, like parents and people could tell, okay, like, okay, she's kind of out, like what's going on. But like the small things, like he was saying, like I would have just pretended like nothing happened and figured it out on my own and been like, oh, I'm gonna just be okay. I'll just figure it out. But like nowadays, I'm like, okay, I get hurt. I'm like, you're gonna give me like 1 to 2 days to process that I got hurt. I'm gonna go figure it out. I'm gonna go to the doctor. We're gonna check it. Oh, I'm good. Great. But
Yeah.
like back in the day, I'd be like, yeah, I'm fine. I wouldn't even go to the doctor. Nowadays, I'm like, my finger hurts. Is this okay? It looks weird at the
Yeah.
top. Like, but like it's just difference of generation of like how you are when you're 23 and how I am when I'm 33. And of course, like I said, I have a whole generation of a life that I need to either make or come out of my life. So like I gotta be okay for them, and I want to be able to pick up my kids and like live that life and not be the crippled old cheerleader that can't do anything with their children. So yeah.
And that's completely valid too, because if and we've probably done this to ourselves anyways, but if you get injured and you don't do anything about it, or you just push through it, like you're bound to make it worse, right? Like generally
Correct.
Yeah.
speaking that.
Yeah.
I remember one time I broke my hand. I was doing back tuck burpees, and
Mhm.
I superhero punched the floor on the last one. Didn't even realize that I broke my hand. I thought I just jammed a knuckle or something like that. Go to practice the next day. We're doing heel stretches and all that stuff. And I'm literally sitting here in my head. I'm like, ow, ow. And I was just like, wow, what a beautiful heel stretch. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, what is wrong with this? Joe, what
Yeah.
about you? 10 years ago, 15 years ago? What's the difference?
Oh no. So, uh, 2019, heading into NCA, I had a compound fracture on my foot. So compound coming through the skin, my bone came through the skin. My cousin owns a chiropractic care facility. I went in there, got an X-ray, reset the bone myself, created my own cast, and made sure that I took the floor with NCA through half through to full instead of half through to double. So I toned it down a bit. Yeah, there's no way that I would ever allow any one of my athletes to ever do any of the kind of stuff that I did 10 years ago. It was the same mentality though. It was like, if I don't take the floor, my whole team's not going to take the floor. There's nobody in our area that could take over my spot and my position, what I'm doing on the tumbling and the stunting side. There's no way. We ended up getting a bid to Worlds. Didn't get to go because of COVID, but that's part of the reason why I'm still probably chasing that too. But yeah, there's no way I would do that. Yeah, now I'm like stretch, proper nutrition. If you think you're hurt, please go get me a doctor's note. And sometimes I ask myself, am I just being too soft because I'm getting old? But at the right time, I'm like, no, I'm taking care of my athletes the right way now. So,
And there's like almost that toxicity in cheer a little bit too, right? Like especially concussions. Eek.
yeah,
Ooh. And I
yes,
remember I just saw a video a couple days ago. I think it was like a UK cheerleader or something like that like broke his ankle and then did the whole rest of the routine. So like 10 years ago, I think that's a big piece of change for me is mindset. 10 years ago, I would have said like, way to push through. That's awesome. Way to keep going, whatever. And in my head today, when I saw it, I was like, "Ooh, that was probably not a very good idea," because we're thinking
yeah,
about the longevity aspect a little bit more, right?
Love it.
yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll wrap up with one last question. The relationship with your younger athletes. So, Joe, it's really super interesting again that you cheered with your son.
Mhm.
How does it feel being basically double the age of a lot of the people that you're cheering with?
It kind of keeps me young. I'm not gonna lie. It keeps me feeling young at least, because I go and I'm about to have my 20th high school reunion, and so I feel like it keeps me young because in comparison to some of the people that I'm um, gonna be around for my high school reunion, I just feel like I look younger, act younger. But at times I'm like, I can't believe I'm hearing some of the slang that's coming out of their mouth, some of the things that they're talking about. And then I compare it to like, because now I have a broader perspective. I'm like, the drama that they're talking about in high school, I'm still hearing out of some of my 26-year-old friends that are also on the team in just a different light. I'm like, what's happening? Living in a twilight zone. So, yeah.
To
I
me,
love it though. I wouldn't trade it. Go
no,
ahead.
to me, I just feel like age is just like a number. Like I feel like what you're saying, like I like hear things that the other generation say, and I'm like, I don't think we were that cringe, but I also like remember like me being that little, being that cringe. So I
Yeah.
think it just depends on like the way that you are. I think cheerleading makes everyone feel very young and act very young. And I feel like we remember that youngness because we're around so many young people all the time. Like you think about it, like cheerleading's not really like there's old people in it, but like not really. Like you're always surrounded by the new generation and the new teams and the new
Mhm.
people. So it's really fun to be around that generation and just remember like the life and the love of cheerleading when you first started it and the energy that they had and what we had when you were younger. And that bond that you create with them is so special because they look up to you no matter what you're doing. And so it's pretty cool to like see the different generations and the different ages.
And that brings up a good point too. What do you feel like your responsibility is as an older athlete? I always felt like I really needed to set a good example and be like a hard worker and stuff, but I don't know if I was like creating too high of expectations for myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right. And we always, like me and Joe, like we have those people that look up to us and like we have that person and those people that we have to like remember that we are those people's whatever. And like it could be like your God, it could be like people that we look up to, it could be like the people that they want to be when they get older. And you just have to remember that like we are those people and like we both, I'm sure, love it and like love to be around it because like we are helping that next generation love it just as much as we did.
For me, this hits really, really close to home. Being that example, like I said, I opened my gym when I was 23 years old. I was still a child. Um, I didn't realize how much of like my life traumas were gonna creep up in my life later. I found out really close to COVID just how detrimental my life could turn based off of those traumas. This may be sharing a little bit too much, but if you guys are welcome to it, I'm all for it.
Yeah. If you feel
Um,
comfortable, by all means.
so in 2020, as COVID started to shut down gyms for 8 months, I thought that my entire life and my entire life's dream of, being a cheer gym owner and running a facility was down the drain. I did not know how I was going to do it again. Um, Coming back from all of it, and I ended up falling into substances, and ended up getting in legal trouble for domestic violence against my wife. Um, I did not think that I was ever going to come back from that sport, or or come back to the sport from that type of mistake. I ended up doing 10 months in a facility where I did nothing but counseling, no cheerleading, no anything like sport related, but counseling, domestic violence treatment, substance abuse treatment, all of those types of things. Um, And I saw just how bad of a role model I was when I was 23, 24, 25. And when I had gotten out, I had made a vow to myself, a vow to God, a vow to my family that I was never going to go back to substances, that I was going to correct all those behaviors and rewrite who I was in those times. And I had countless athletes stick beside me, tell me that I'm still their role model, that I let them down. And a lot of them open up to me because now I could, that I was in the right state of mind where they felt like I could. So now when I'm hearing, athletes start to veer off the path, I feel like I have so many more tools now as the adult and the person that I am now, going through all those trials and everything. And it is my number one responsibility. We have, 20, 21, 22, 23-year-old boys in our program because we have a large male program in our facility that are becoming different men because of the type of leadership that we have in place with my wife guiding me, supporting and leading now. It's the most important thing. And I'm blessed that I was able to put those trials behind me, come out the other side and get all the legal stuff taken care of so that I can be a part of the sport. And so being a role model to those athletes is probably why I'm still in the sport to this day. Yeah.
Well, that story was amazing, and thank you for sharing with us. And I just need you to know that like struggles in life is just what makes you who you are today, and like no one should judge anyone based off their past or what they've done. And like you just seem like such a genuine like person and athlete, and like such a pleasure to meet you and like hear your story and like be on this podcast with you, because honestly it was just like you have that like light and like don't ever let anyone like dim it, and like you have that presence. So like you're such a cool person, you know?
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. I don't even need an outro. Ashlie just did it. Mic drop.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you both for being here and for sharing.
Yeah.
It was so awesome to hear your story. I'm excited to continue chatting. Let me know if you need anything else, and I will hopefully talk to both of you soon.
Yeah,
Thank you.
time. I'd love to do it again.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you, guys. Bye.